Chapter 133 Leon versus Yuki Part 1. The ultimate skill, Avarice King Mammon, is an ability specialized in depriving. As expected, the most heinous character was bestowed with the evilest ability. A moment prior, Yuki was in an overwhelmingly disadvantageous position. Perhaps had Chloe joined the fight, the tables could possibly be turned, but Yuki wished to avoid that. The number of times Chloe could be commanded was set at 3 times. Moreover, an order was consumed via his first command, do not interfere with me. This was the greatest command he could achieve against Chloe's ability. If he wished for her to serve him faithfully, even all of the wishes would not be enough. Simply commanding Chloe not to turn hostile exerted him to his utmost. Nevertheless, he had taken countermeasures to against the possibility of Chloe awakening from this curse of dominance. Yuki had to use every ounce of his soul to maintain this soul contract. And now, even though Yuki's own ultimate skill has awakened, he decided to abstain from using her power. Chloe's specialty is combat. Even so, Yuki did not fail to consider the possibility that Chloe was seeking to annul the contract every moment she was with him. After all, she almost succeeded a second ago. I see. I thought she was awfully quiet, but she was trying to cancel the contract with me. Huh? Yuki said, shrugging. Chloe remained silent with a bitter expression. Setting aside whether the attempt would have succeeded or not, the fact remains that she tried. Well, that's a given, thought Yuki. Unless you're an idiot, it's unnatural for someone to simply obey. Well, whatever. Looks like I made it in time. Now then, Leon, shall we continue? Yuki nodded in regards to Chloe's reaction and faced Leon. Leon scowled at the blissful expression on Yuki's face. With both sides now possessing an ultimate skill, Leon had already lost his advantage. But situation-wise, Leon still had the advantage. Yuki may have awoken to his ultimate skill, but his energy has not yet recovered. He was still stuck with whatever was left over from dominating Chloe. But still, Yuki refused to deploy his trump card. He wanted to win with what he already in hand. Yuki continued to think, but his current situation remained unfortunate. The Silver Knight Alrose was currently fighting face to face against Kagali. Both sides were evenly matched. At the same time, Leon's strongest subordinate, the Black Knight Cloud, alongside the Red Knight and the Blue Knight, were fighting against Yuki's subordinates. The Black Knight Cloud displayed overwhelming might in battle. Yuki's subordinates, who originally numbered more than 10, were now reduced to mere 5, and even now another one was felled by his strike. And then there was 4. They planned to assist Alros in the fight against Kagali. After cleaning up the small fries, wait a moment, Yuki-sama, at this rate, wouldn't we be killed? Becoming rather desperate looking, Kagali continuously evaded Alros. Looking at her struggle, you really are weak, aren't you? Yuki answered Kagali with disgust. But I guess having this be a one-sided slaughter does bug me, so how about I go on the offensive? He slipped behind the Red Knight, and while avoiding the sword slashing towards him, life still, and then a palm rested on the Red Knight's chest. As soon as Yuki lifted his palm, the Red Knight crumpled on the spot. The editor just came to the realization that these knights are based off of Power Rangers. Yeah. Red Knight, Nesan, Red Knight didn't respond to Black Knight, Clouds, and Blue Knight screams. Or rather, she couldn't. The reason being that she was already dead. It's useless to beckon you now. You know, that's because I just took that person's life. Looking like his power restored a little, Yuki stated the fact with icy cold words. This was no longer a battle. Only the depriver and the deprived. Between the two, there was a hopeless gap. Defeating all of Yuki's subordinates, Blue Knight rushed towards Red Knight to confirm what he had proclaimed. His sister did not show signs of movement. She was, without a doubt, dead. You bastard. The Blue Knight was enraged. Oi, oi, this is a battle, isn't it? You've been killing my subordinates too, weren't you? Isn't getting angry over this a bit unreasonable? Translator notes. This guy. In response to Yuki's words, their killing intent intensified. As for Leon, after looking at Yuki's ability, he realized the graveness of the situation. Even if it had just awakened, Yuki's already completely mastered the ability. In the first place, leveling the playing field was something outside of his calculation. Leon did not underestimate Yuki, yet he concluded that Yuki must be exterminated before it was given a chance to grow because of how unpredictable and dangerous he was. Certainly, he wanted to save Chloe as soon as possible. However, circumstances as they were dictated against solo action. Therefore, he decided to retreat. All of Yuki's subordinates have been eliminated. All that was left was the woman known as Kagali. Although he was worried about that vicious glare strength-wise, she didn't seem like that much of a problem. But with an ability that steals an opponent's soul without resistance through touch, Leon judged that Yuki was far too dangerous for Leon and his companions. Withdraw for now, Leon decided and immediately ordered, Leon-sama, allow me to be the rear guard. The Black Knight Cloud cried out and appeared in front of Leon, by the wall facing Yuki. Ara, Leon, are you escaping? I wouldn't allow such a thing, you know. Yuki revealed a beaming smile, manipulating the surrounding trees and blocked Leon's retreat path. However, something of this degree couldn't possibly block Leon, light of the ultimate skill, king of purity, Metatron, gathered in his palm. Leon forcefully destroyed the trees and opened the way. Although Leon tried to trigger transfer magic, his attempt merely resulted in confusion. Haha, you can't use transfer here, you know. Didn't you know? One of the reasons I chose this place was because of it seals off any attempts of escaping by transfer. Yuki said happily. Then, without missing the opportunity from the failed transfer, overripe, Yuki's hands touched Black Knight's Cloud's shoulder. Despite being caught off guard for an instant, Cloud took evasive measures. Thanks to that, he didn't fall like the Red Knight. No, something was off. And when Leon noticed, Yuki-sama, my name is Cloud. What are your orders? The Black Knight Sir Cloud kneeled towards Yuki. The worst development had come about. What Yuki can deprive was not limited to someone's life, ability, and even their mind. No matter how deeply their loyalty is embedded into their soul, by rewriting the information in their soul, it's possible to instill loyalty unto himself. Such is the ability of Yuki's ultimate skill, Avarice King Mammon. Ahaha. Now, excluding Chloe, it's finally a 3-on-3. We're finally even, eh? Yuki laughed happily. As expected, you have a really fine personality, Yuki-sama. But Leon, seeing you making that face fills me with endless joy. A joyful smile appeared on Kazalim. You, Kazariam, you bastard, what did you do to Cloud? Leon asked. I just took your subordinates. Isn't everyone fine with it? If the targets swore loyalty to no one, this skill wouldn't have worked. Overwrite is an ability that allows me to rewrite at whom the loyalty is directed. Yuki, who answered cheerfully, turned to examine Cloud to ascertain his feelings. From the looks of Cloud, he has succeeded. TN comment, $20 betting anyone that this ability will fail to affect Sean when they do fight. But this ability is surprisingly useful. He laughed, satisfied. Perhaps it was best to call this power evil incarnate. The higher their level of loyalty, the easier it is for them to fall into the hands of Yuki. Kagali was overjoyed at Leon's dire situation, and the Black Knight Cloud, who had betrayed, naturally pointed his sword towards Leon without hesitation. As Yuki claimed, excluding Chloe, this has turned to a 3-on-3 battle. Moreover, the situation has become overwhelmingly disadvantageous for Leon. But even amidst this disadvantageous situation, Leon's heart did not waver. Considering Yuki's personality, one ought to have expected him to set up some sort of trap. He doesn't seem to have activated the trap yet. However, Leon has already understood the nature of this trap. The end note, Leon's name hasn't appeared, but I took the liberty to make it flow a bit better. A magnetic field that interferes with transfer magic, drifting miasma, uncharted mountains, Uncharted mountains where mostly dragons dwell and humans seldom come, a mysterious place. Intelligence has mentioned something akin to this place in their reports. It was. But even if his assumption was correct, and the trap had indeed been sprung, it would not cause Leon any inconvenience. In that case, Rimuru and Ruminas, who focus on the magical attribute, would be really troubled if they fought him. He murmured to himself. Her eyes sparkled for a moment when his gaze met Chloe's. Don't despair under these circumstances. Her gaze conveyed her intention strongly, looking at Cloud, who was once a loyal subject, then looking back at Chloe once more. Chloe nodded faintly. Something can be done. Is that it? Well, Red Knight probably can't, but Yuki must have thought that these circumstances were truly inconvenient to Leon, but he misunderstood that Leon really didn't care about his subordinates that much. He used them. He used them as long as they were useful. He had no duty to protect them. No matter which of his subordinates you ask, not one would expect to be protected by him. In fact, every single one of them would be joyful at an opportunity to perish as his shield. Even so, that doesn't mean they want to die. At one point, he thought of retreating because his subordinates were a hindrance. Whenever Leon got serious, people around him get caught up in it. Precisely because of this, he refused to work together with Rimuru and Ruminas, and when he thought to retreat, his subordinate Claude was stolen. This no longer was a situation he could allow to continue. Leon looked at Red Knight and gently killed off the anger in his heart. Leon is a king. To waver at the death of his subordinates should not be something present. The enemy were Yuki and Kagari. Cloud may be Leon's strongest subordinate, but he knows him like the palm of his hand. He's not Leon's enemy. Kagari seems like a female devil that used a familiar trick. She seems to hold a serious grudge towards Leon, but he couldn't recall. His heart isn't big enough to remember the grudges of each and every small fry. She seems to be good at using curse spells, but not the level worthy of calling a threat. It would be fine to ignore this woman, thought Leon. In that case, the only enemy here is Yuki. Yuki is a real pain. Having awakened an ultimate skill here, he truly is a man who gains strength in the face of adversity. But Leon had a thin smile. Did you know? Ultimate skills are not equal. There could be a difference between them as great as between heaven and the earth. What? I've changed my mind. I'm not withdrawing. I'm going to bury you here. Leon's ultimate skill is the apex of the light class, an existence that could be called the bane of being a magic origin. And Leon knows something else who holds an ultimate skill. He tried confronting him once, and his defeat was so overwhelming it couldn't be called a fight at all. Lord of Darkness, Guy Crimson, the strongest of the demon lords, Leon made full use of his ultimate skill and attacked with full force. The result was a complete defeat. After defeating Kazalim, Guy Crimson aimlessly visited to issue a challenge. If he won, he would be allowed to do as he wished. If he lost, Leon was to become Guy's companion. Leon came with the intention to kill, and Guy simply defended all his attacks as if he were toying. The experience of defeat had made Leon strong. After all, in a battle between ultimate skill wielders, the key to victory is to understand the opponent's ability first. If a person couldn't comprehend what had happened, then his defeat is inevitable. For Leon, Guy was a person capable of overwhelming others. So, then, for a person without an ultimate skill, prevailing against those with one is impossible, going as far as preparing a number of things to prevent confrontation. It was outside of his calculation for Yuki to come here and then awaken an ultimate skill, like he did. However, this wasn't enough to determine Leon's defeat. Over the course of hundreds of years, Leon familiarized himself with his skill. Since Yuki has just awakened, his grasp of his skill is yet imperfect. Since Yuki has just awakened, his grasp of his skill is yet imperfect, and that is good. If he were to awaken his abilities in the dark, he would certainly become troublesome when Leon would have faced him. The sprouting bud of a threat should be plucked here and now. In front of Leon, the evil youth Kagurasaka Yuki has finally been recognized as an enemy that must be eradicated. Yuki perceived that the atmosphere of the handsome blonde man in front of him, Leon Cromwell, had changed. What is that? He thought. In a flash of light, Leon himself, Yuki could only watch as Cloud was blown away. With an intense blow from Leon's bare hands, the jet black armor of Black Knight Sir Cloud was half destroyed, rendering him unable to battle. While looking at Cloud, who was blown off into Chloe's vicinity, he clicked his tongue. Chloe, can you heal that guy? I'd rather have a comrade I made after a lot of effort than a dead subordinate. He called out to Chloe. Sure, why not? Was that a command? No, and there is an explanation for that. If the curse wasn't used, it would be treated as Chloe's own will rather than a command. The exchange, which has been ongoing for a few days now, led Yuki to be able to fight without much effort at this point, but Leon's current attack speed was at a level where Yuki could barely react. It seems the Demon Lord Leon is seriously enraged, so he was this strong, even with my abnormal strength. Catching that would be dangerous. I deliberately tried to injure him, but I guess I failed. The end note. Oh no, it was a success. It was a little too big of a success, in fact. In fact, even in this situation, Yuki is thinking playful thoughts. You guys, return first, and then inform the Ruminas and Rimuru as to what happened here. Silver Knight, Alrose, and Blue Knight could only nod at Leon's instruction. If Leon, who was their master, fought seriously, they noticed that they would only be a burden. Moreover, they feared to cause him trouble if they were stolen by the other side. Even though his sister was killed, Blue Knight didn't fail to calmly comprehend the current situation. They quickly withdrew without a complaint. confirming the two that are swiftly preparing their escape. I won't allow that. Kagali tried to interfere with her puppetries. You bastards seem to be underestimating me. Under the light that Leon released, all the trees crumbled and disappeared. Kegi, noticing that Leon's attack was directed at her, Kagali quickly darted behind Chloe. Wait a moment. Chloe-chan, you're protecting me too, right? Imprudently, Kagali tried to muddle with Chloe's defense barrier, and much to everyone's amazement, I don't particularly mind, answered Chloe. Well, as expected. Chloe Chan truly is kind, as expected of the hero. Kagali looked happy and joyfully rubbed Chloe's cheek with her own Chloe. Chloe pushed her away with disgust. Oh well, the order of things have merely changed, said Leon. Hey, Yuki-sama, can't you hear what he's saying? Do you seriously think you can win? Remembering the traumas of defeat, the frightened Kagali cried out. She clearly abandoned any hopes of appearing composed. After all, even after several hundreds of years, there stood Leon's figure. He had mentally scarred Kagali. You really have a wonderful personality, you know? Just shut up and watch how I win this. In reality, Yuki was not sure he had the ability to say that. When Leon's subordinates escaped, he considered giving chase, but Leon's current state dissuaded him. Clearly, there's time to spare for Leon, and ignoring him would be a suicidal act. Kagali was careless and still alive only because she wasn't being directly targeted. No, perhaps he merely returned to the favor of Yuki, having overlooked the escape of his subordinates, and probably that light released from Leon's skill is an attack that would engulf surrounding people in it. He merely avoided using it to not hurt his own subordinates. That's probably how it was. Now I've done it. I feel like I've tread on the tiger's tail. Key and note, it's a Japanese idiom, meaning he's taken a great risk. Even as Yuki was thinking such things, a smile crept onto his face. Truly, if he had asked Rimuru and Ruminas for reinforcements, Yuki wouldn't have stood a chance. He would have to use his trump card, and even then, he would likely fall. And even if he played this card now, Leon would be defeated. But Yuki was also loose. Now then, what could he do? With Chloe, the battle would be won quickly, but to use her to kill a single person, Leon would be a waste. And perhaps he could somehow manage against a single demon lord. In that case, all he had to do was to try. He has finally acquired an ultimate skill. It would be a waste not to test it. Now then, Leon, you are more dangerous than you appeared. Even so, victory will be mine. Say as much bullshit as you want. You underestimated a demon lord. Time to face reality. Their auras clashed, creating lighting which flashed between the heaven and the earth. No more conversation could be had. Not, but battle remained. End of chapter 133.